Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Max Reacts. Today we're checking out, I know, shocker here, Marvel Crisis Protocol. I just love it. We got a whole bunch of leaks, spoils, things that maybe shouldn't have happened, things that are definitely happening. So we're going to jump straight into it and check it out. Enchantress got accidentally released. There was also another character. We had Angela Aldrich, Odin's daughter, also accidentally getting leaked. And we're going to check out what these characters are. I think it was in the States or something like that. It got shipped to suppliers early, and the suppliers thought they could sell it immediately. Atomic Games then called them up and said, whoa, 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 calm your farm, relax. It's actually a Q1 2020 release. So expecting these characters in probably January or February, something along those lines. I expect probably now, maybe earlier, because they have been spoiled. But we're just going to go over these characters, see where they fit in, see if they're good or not, see kind of what their power level is within the outcome of the game. So first off, Enchantress is a 4-threat character, already fitting the slots of things like Venom. When you jump into 4 threats, 4 threats such a versatile category. You've got Killmonger, you've got Black Panther. You've got a lot of scary 4-threat characters in that section. So where does Enchantress fit in? She has the Asgardian power. I believe that she'll eventually become an Asgardian or a Guardians of the Galaxy as well, because she's got a couple of cards which we'll jump into later. So definitely like her potentially in the Guardians of the Galaxy, giving them a little bit more uniqueness or kind of spice in their characters. Guardians is a pretty straightforward team. I don't think there's anything really crazy about them at the moment. They punch fairly hard, they move fairly hard. They're a solid jack of all trades, which is what you expect from them. And this definitely follows on that feeling, but I think gives a little bit more uniqueness into what you can technically pull off. And one of the cards that we see later on, I definitely think can push Guardians of the Galaxy over the edge quite a bit. So we're going to check out what that's about. Anyway, so 6 health, medium movement, 2 size. So pretty stock standard stuff across that board. She has 5 mystic defense. Now this is very, very important. I'm going to jump straight into it here. We've got Enchant in here. So when an enemy character attacks this target, you use your Mystic Defense, so you get your 5 dice, unless they pay 2 power. So a pretty cheeky power sap ability right there, where you're always going to have 5 defense, making her not even surprisingly tanky, just ludicrously tanky with 5 dice, or you're taking away their power. That's going to be really powerful and prominent against things like Hulk, like Venom, like Thor, that want all these power generators and don't, and like they've got a really good way to spend it in one big burst, but making their attacks cost 2 to 3 more is going to be a huge, huge problem. So I'm going to mute that one. So really, really, really strong ability. Again, 5 defense dice, absolutely crazy. That's definitely where that 4 threat comes up. Again, battling someone like Venom, his innate tankiness is that he can heal an attack on your turn. Well, what if I've always just got 5 dice defending? You know, pretty huge. Cool. But into the cantrip, not a super power generating attack. You simply gain a power after it's resolved. So keep that in mind. But you are Asgardian, which you can see, which means you actually start the turn with 2 power. So you can end up 3 power a turn. Really, really power-hungry abilities here, so you've got to be careful with that power generation. Sap power, seen it before, really, really good. Weak early, really strong late, because it's before damage is dealt, so those characters have to already have power on them. And then they lose you gain 1 of their power for each damage that you're dealing. So again, fairly weak early, I think, when there's no power playing around, but very, very strong in the medium late game when you're kind of building up for a really big turn for like Thor or something like that, when you just get to take 2 or 3 sneaky power from him. Beam 3, so you can hit multiple people. That's what really pushes this over the edge. I believe Beam 3 means that every time you hit someone, you actually get a power as well. So a cheeky little power gain action in that, pretty powerful. Put this in someone like Cabal with Red Skull, and suddenly you're gaining 2 at the start of the turn, and then 3 or 4 from just attacking. You're at 2 at the start of the turn, 4 or 5 for attacking, puts you at like 5 or 6 power almost every turn for the rest of your abilities. Now, these are all really, really powerful. I'm going to Enthrall in a moment, really good disabling tool, but Amora's Kiss. All right, choose a name of character within range 1, and then you can move an asset or civilian token onto them. So we've got this ability to start shifting around objectives, which is absolutely huge. 3 power. So what's important, more so than this ability kind of being released, because obviously we've got kind of Kingpin and Spidey foes, not Spidey foes, sorry, Kingpin being the Syndicate, kind of having this ability, or hinted at having this ability. Now we have Amora's Kiss, and they rate this ability at a 3 power action, well, not action, but ability. So in order to move something around, they reckon is around the 3 power mark. Could be 2, could be about 3. So again, seeing Syndicate either doing it potentially for free, or for like 1 power, I think absolutely crazy, absolutely huge for the Syndicate. So it shows how powerful Atomic Games believe this ability is. So I want to showcase that. Then we got Hell Hath No Fury. It's a small throw, not a crazy strong throw. 3 power, Expensive throw, size 2 or less, medium though. So look, again, a pretty jack of all trades. Not a huge spiker, but you're a 4-threat character. What do you want? But sometimes if you have that bit of excess power, you can try and just sneak through a couple extra damage. I think Enchantress's problem is probably going to be damaging people. She's not going to be super good at actually punching through a target. She's going to be good at disabling them, shifting them, moving them, frustrating them. That's what she's going to be really, really good at. And as you can see exactly through this next ability, I don't think you'll be throwing much, honestly, because of Siren's Call. Now, choose an enemy character within range 3 and advance them small. A character can be made to advance by the superpower only once per turn. So you're getting a pull or a push. You're getting an advance, similar to kind of like the Spideys. This could be a really interesting character in Spideys as well. Again, really going to struggle in that power generation, but potentially with Asgardian and the Spurn Defection, you can definitely sneak through a couple more. But just pushing, disabling. Now this brings me to Enthrall. Again, if you get a wild, it's a slow. If you get a stun, if you get 2 wilds, it's a stun as well. If you get 3 wilds, it's a stagger. So suddenly in a turn, you can, Spurn Defection, slow, stun, and stagger them, and then advance them small somewhere. I think that's not unreasonable to see in a turn. It's a 5-power turn. Yes, 5-power turn, but you're getting 2 from being an Asgardian. If you get to Spurn and Affection, you're potentially getting 2, probably not 3, but potentially 2, which means from turn 2 onwards, you can throw all of these things. Imagine coming up against a Hulk or something like that. It's a Mystic attack, so it's got the medium level of defense. You expect a lot of 3s, maybe some 2s on Mystic. But yeah, it's like throwing out these abilities. Again, giving the stagger ability, absolutely huge. You don't see many stuns. You see a couple staggers, but don't see many stuns. Don't see many staggers at the moment floating around. So on things like your Modocs, your Hulks, whatever it may be, just throwing this on there and then moving them away. Because you got to remember, if you advance the character small and they're slowed, their entire next action is getting to the spot that they previously just were. Doesn't matter how big the base is. Having slowed and then advanced small, absolutely huge. Then to have stunned and staggered, losing actions, losing the power and things like that, huge. We'll jump onto a flip side. It's identical in every single way, except she has 1 less health. So she has 5 health. Pretty expected when it comes to this type of things. Moving on, though, we have Angela, the next one that was, again, accidentally leaked. Shouldn't have happened, but we have the information, so let's dive into it. 5 threat, straight away. Threat's just so important in this game. 4 defense across the board, very good for a 5-threat character. Thor only has 4/4/3, I think, on Mystic. He might have 4/4/4, but I think it's 4/4/3. So 5-threat characters to have 4/4/4, really solid, really good and strong. Size 2, long movement. Now, this is such an important thing to have a 5-threat character with long movement. Massive, absolutely massive. We'll have to check out her base size. I imagine it's probably going to be fairly standard, probably a Thor size base. I don't expect Venom or anything crazy like that. Probably a Thor size base being size 2, but long movement, absolutely massive already. Now, I'm not completely sold on Angela. I think she's very complicated. I think there's probably a really bunch of good things that you can do. You can definitely punch really hard. You can definitely take people off the board just from the weight of the attacks. Asgardian definitely helps, but like the question is, does Valkyrie just kind of do this job a little better? If you're looking just to kill someone, why wouldn't I just take Valkyrie to charge, punch, slice, and dice? So 5 threat, paying 2 extra threat for this, really interesting, but we'll go over why I think she's actually strong. So you've got your typical power generator attack. Range 2, so fairly short range, but you do get to place yourself within range 2. So you can move pretty quickly. Now, what I'm going to jump onto immediately is if we go to, Angelic Assassin. If this character dazes or KOs an enemy, you can spend, during its activation, so very important, you can spend 2 power, then you can immediately advance small, then make a Xiphos the sword attack, which then gets you to place it within 2. So suddenly, looking at the board, advance small, so you're about kind of this far across the board, and then you get to put yourself within 2, because if range 2 attack, get to attack and then attack that. So that's a quarter of the board potentially off that ability, and that's just kind of, say you Xiphos them first, so you get to move 2, then advance small, then move another range 2. That's pretty huge. That's absolutely pretty huge, and it's put within range 2, so you can actually advance onto the other side of them. So you can be pretty far ahead. This is similar to kind of like what Crossbones was doing when he punched you from range 2 or 3. I think he punched you from range 2 and then put himself within range 1 and you on the other side to get that sick movement. So being able to kind of like jump from character to character, I definitely think with a long movement, her mobility across the map is going to be pretty crazy, and a lot less power hungry than someone like Ghost Rider, who once again gets 3 power to get his long movement, otherwise regularly medium. have the long movement, and then spend the power for the two small and then 2 is pretty much a long movement plus. So very, very, very strong. I think that's what's really going to excel her. 6 dice attack for a 5-threat character, pretty stock standard. Maybe would have liked to see it 7, but I can imagine having these multiple attacks going on definitely ramping up and being a problem. If you put her with someone that can reroll or give extra dice, will be a force to be reckoned with in regards to just killing people. Physical though, so a lot of strong defense dice against it. Got to balance it up. Blades of Ichor, we'll jump straight forward. 1 power, 5 dice, energy attack, pretty solid. Pursuit means that if you do roll a hit, so straight away, going to happen most of the time, you may advance small towards the target again. So that's range 4. So suddenly you can 1 power, advance small, provided you roll a hit, which you most likely will. Range 4, advance small, into that puts you into range Xiphos the next turn. Or Heaven's Wrath, but Xiphos into killing them, into moving, into attacking someone, into moving again. So again, suddenly you're like half the board movement after like just from attacking people. You know, you get so much action efficiency by attacking people when you actually move, which I think is really, really, really cool. Definitely reasonable when you see suddenly she's 5 threat. So 4/4/4 defense means she's going to be around the board and holding on to objectives pretty readily as well, to be quite frank. Having 6 health, look, maybe could have done 7, but spoiler alert, on the flip side, her only change is she actually goes up in health to 7, similar to Thor. So really, really interesting in that. Would I like take one of the Mystic Dice off for the extra health from Thor? Possibly, but I don't know. Still very, very tanky. So really, really cool. All right. Heaven's Wrath. I've been sitting on those first abilities for way too long. Heaven's Wrath. Add dice to attack equal to the target's size. So 4 dice, generally +2. A lot of size 2 characters. So 6. Might be a couple of size 3, so you get to 7 occasionally. Now, 3 power for a 6 or 7 dice doesn't seem that crazy, I know. But range 3, physical. Here's the kicker though, Cleave. If I get a crit, and a wild, pretty unreasonable because there's actually only a 1 in 8 chance for a crit. So crit into wild isn't super likely. Gonna have to have some rerolls in my opinion to really get that working. But again, if you roll a crit, you've still got another 1 in 8 to just get a crit anyway. So crit wild would almost statistically get yourself into some crit ranges, which is pretty cool. But cleave just means you get to attack the same person, make an additional Heaven's Wrath attack, so similar to Modok's chair. He's a whirling chair of death without paying the power cost. You have to target the original character and you lose the cleave special ability. So you can't go infinite, which is fine. You do have to roll a lot of fancy dice to try and get this. But if you're versing someone like a Hulk, you're rolling 8 attack dice. Maybe you put Thanos in there because why not? Give her 2 extra. You're rolling 10 to 12 attack dice against these characters. Definitely pretty cheeky. Definitely can try and get an extra cleave. Overall, not super sold on that ability. I think we're going to have to see a lot of re-rolls and a lot of dice to really get that going. But moving forward, this is where she gets really, really strong. Odin's Daughter's Might. 2 power, typical Asgardian throw, size 4 or less within range 2, throw at medium. So shorter range than what we saw in Enchantress here. Was it Hellhath the Furies? Size 2 at range 3 versus size 4 at range 2. Definitely going to take the size 4. And then throw at medium for 1 less power. I think that is a very, very powerful throw on par with Thor and Venom and all of those. Very, very strong. This suddenly, you know, Xiphos into, because you're getting the Asgardian attacks as well, so Xiphos with some extra power gain into a move, into a throw, into a move again or something like that, you know, so I'm moving halfway across the board, putting myself in the right spot to throw a building at your head and then continue on my merry way. Really, really strong. Definitely thinks people that can access this Odin's Daughter's Might in the middle of the turn attacks will showcase themselves as the top tier Angela players, just straight away. I went through Asgardian, went through Angelic. So interestingly enough, we have these living ribbons. Now, I'm not sure how to take this ability. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments about what this particularly means. I'll put the easy part first. Enemy characters cannot reroll or change attack dice when targeting this character with attacks. Very, very tanky. Very, very, very tanky. Means 4/4/4 with that ability. Means you can't reroll. Your Zemos are out. Add an extra dice is still fine, but you can't modify them in any way. So really, really solid things like Shuri start falling out of the play, MODOK start falling out of the play. So really, really, really cool. But enemy characters cannot place the movement tool overlapping this character's base. So there's a lot of questions about that. When I throw a character, I can't put my movement over the base. That makes sense. I have to boot around her because when you throw someone, you have to follow all the way to the end of the movement tool unless you hit someone. So if it's a medium movement, chances are to try and hit her, you're going through the base. So you can't do that. So really, really interesting there. Maybe there's some awkward little hemmed-in actions you can do for people where you can actually kind of hem them into corners. I think the more powerful thing here is saying that no matter your size, you cannot move through her, even if you have flight. You have to go around her. So putting her in moving her as you kind of flurry and spin and cause your ribbons all through the fight, putting her in a position where people definitely want to move through, maybe even short corridors, and just say, I'm standing here, you can't get through here anymore. You're not allowed. I think that's actually very, very powerful, actually hindering people's movements. So look, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. I would love to hear why you think that's very powerful. Maybe if you have any questions about that, we can try and answer it together as a group. Would be really, really good. So jump in the comments below. Tell me what you think about that particular ability, because I'm unsure about it. Definitely a strange, complicated kind of ruling, and I'm assuming that Atomic Mass are probably going to come out and maybe clarify that at some point. They obviously didn't think they had to do that until Q1 2021. So look, this is the two characters that we've got here, Enchantress and Angela. Finally, we're going to jump onto these cards. I think these cards are really, really interesting. Lovable Misfits to me is one of the more powerful cards in the game. I expect Guardians to actually shoot up in popularity because of this card. It says any number of allied Guardians of the Galaxy spend a power, and they each roll a dice, and a bunch of cool things happen. If they roll, I think it's a hit or a wild, they can immediately make an attack with power cost of 0 or gain 2 power. If they roll, or maybe that's a crit or a wild. Sorry, I apologize for the pixels. See if you can count them. So crit or wild, you can either make an attack or get 2 power. So it's a 1 in 4, so 25% chance. If they roll a hit, enemy characters in range 3, holding or contesting objectives suffer a damage. So pretty solid. Again, what's that? So it's another 25% chance, I think, to hit that. If they roll a shield or a blank, they immediately advance small. So if they roll, so that's pretty good. You obviously control the advance, I believe. So you can push them off objectives pretty easily, put them into awkward situations, take them out of defensive bodyguard areas before you get into attack, which is really cool. And then finally, if you roll a skull, this character and all characters within range 2 get the stunned special condition. So provided you've actually spread out pretty wide, I think that's actually a really, really powerful thing, potentially rolling skulls. All of these options are good. All of these options are powerful. Guardians of the Galaxy is a affiliation that you can get some of the most characters in because they all float around 2-3 threat. Just to name a couple, you've got Drax, Star-Lord are both 3, Groot and Rocket Raccoon are 3 and 2. So that's already 3, 6, 9. That's only 11 for 4 characters. You've still got 4 plus more threat that you can play around with. That's Nebula and Nebula and her sister, whose name was just on the tip of my tongue, Gamora. Nebula and Gamora. Already in that. So, that's a 6 list character. 6 character list at 15-ish threat, 15 or 16 threat. And you throw this card, and you're all across the board, guaranteed. You're absolutely everywhere. You can potentially hit multiple people with these cards, or multiple enemies with this card multiple times as well. So shift them all around the map. You can advance them small twice or thrice and just put them so far out of the battle. Just like kind of cascade across the little like domino effect, which I think is really good. So Lovable Misfits, exceptionally powerful card for Guardians of the Galaxy, and I expect that to really potentially shoot up Guardians of the Galaxy in popularity just from that card alone, because the turn that card's played is game ending. It really, really can be. Then we've got Grievous Wounds. Pretty simple. Stops people from healing. I really like that. It stops potentially the Venoms coming through. It stops the Wongs obviously coming out to try and heal people suddenly as well. So healing is something you have to definitely keep in check, because if healing's too good, you just run kind of like, a nuclear team where you've got, one Kingpin and then everyone just kind of heals them and supports them, and whilst that's a fine threat, I play MODOK, so I play MODOK, Red Skull, and Wong. So trust me, I'm aware of that. But yeah, just stopping that so you can actually kill that character eventually, make that a little bit more risky to play, which I really, really like. And then finally we have Rainbow Bridge. This is huge for the Asgardians. It's a huge power-hungry card, so 3 power to play it, but you're Asgardian, so you're getting 2 power a turn anyway, and you get to place yourself within 3 of their current location. That's massive as well. So I expect Asgardians to be very, very powerful here. Being able to spend a turn where, if you're playing your Wongs as an example, or your Shuris and your R&D, and you spread your power out evenly, and then suddenly an Asgardian pops in, 2 of them play this, put Valkyrie in halfway up the board, put Thor in a position where he can potentially do Thor's hammer, or the God of Thunder, and AoE if he's really late into the game. I really, really like these. I think it's crazy cool. These characters, as Guardians, generally have pretty good movement anyway. But just for a turn, even like putting Loki in a really, really frustrating position for your opponent that are expecting to activate multiple superpowers on their turn, and they've got this huge, 8-power turn popping up, and you just put Loki in a really frustrating position that forces them to spend a bunch of actions to either deal with him, or if they do their threats, then they drop down to 0 power, do their attacks and their plans, they drop down to 0 power, or alternatively, they just can't do their thing at all. So really, really interesting card, definitely very power hungry. So I think that's a very, very high skill cap card to potentially pull out, just because you can put yourself in a position where your team easily gets completely destroyed. You can pull them out of the combat as well, which is pretty relevant. So yeah, really, really cool cards. But jump into the comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about all these different cards. Tell me how excited you are for Enchantress and Angela. I think they can definitely change the game completely. And keep in mind, before these, we've still got Bullseye, Daredevil, Kingpin all coming out. Taskmaster still coming out. Ghost Rider still popping out soonish. So we've still got a lot of characters between then and now. So this is going to be really, really interesting to see what kind of combinations people can do with this. But look, my name is Max. I've dragged this conversation on for long enough because I will talk for hours on these characters. So you enjoy that one. We'll see you on the next video. Again, comment below what you think about Living Ribbons, because it's a really, really interesting ability. But if you're on to Ali, she's going to tell you how you can check out all our other different social media. So thank you very much. I'll see you next time. Mwah.
Hey guys, it's Ellie. If you liked that video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more interesting content. You can also follow us on Facebook for more information and events. Likewise, follow us on Instagram for those behind the scenes photos and videos. See ya!